विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम्.
Namaskar and Pranam Umaji. Such a pleasure, an honor and joy to be sitting with you. And as I speak to you, we are almost around that festive phase which always energizes devotees, not just in New York, but people come from different cities of America. And indeed, there are musicians and priests flying from India. In addition to that, this year it is Jeernoddharana as well as Maha Kumbhabhishekam. So let us begin with the significance briefly from a layman's point of view when we say Jeernoddharana, because Jeernoddharana term tells you that there is something which is being rebuilt. Is it in that context?
Namaste, Namaste Jayatan. Namaste to everybody, and certainly it's my great pleasure and honor to be talking to you on this wonderful upcoming festival. See, the Maha Kumbhabhishekam Jeernoddharana simply means re-energizing the temple. And when the temple was built originally, and first consecration took place in 1977, and subsequently every 12 years we have performed. So this came as the fifth. It is understood from the Shastras, and especially the Agama Shastras, that because of continuous performance of the various pujas and the devotees coming in, exposure to so much exterior, the energy that is being produced by the different deities and also by the temple gets less and less and less. And now, therefore, as we get older, we also become less energetic. So as the temple gets older, it needs to be re-energized. And the only way we can re-energize this is by doing a whole lot of pujas, consecrations, chanting of the mantras, yagnas, which really will be done in those 5 days, a tremendous variety of pujas. And about 30 different priests will be coming from all over the place. And we have actually the yagashalas built in the back, 8 yagashalas, and they'll all be sitting there morning, evening. Finally, the sanctified water, that is the kalasha water, which is taken up on the roof, on the different towers, which is poured up on there. And that is really the Kumbhabhishekam of the Rajagopura and all other Gopuras. At the same time, soon after that is done, the consecrated or the consecrated water, which is again brought into the Mahamandapa, and the sanctified water is poured on the different deities. So that really is the conclusion of the Kumbhabhishekam. In other words, by then, from our point of view, the way the Agama Shastras dictate is that the consecration is now complete. So the temple is now open with full energy for the devotees to come in. It's a simple lay way of understanding what this is all about. I mean, it's not necessary to get into the depth of what these different pujas are, because it is too complicated. But I think the principle for anywhere, I think it is just like as we get older, we say we want to take some vacation, we want to energize ourselves, we do certain things. So the principle is more or less the same. But here it is all as per what our rishis have written about the Agama Shastras. These wonderful priests, knowledgeable priests, they will now reenact the whole thing in those 5 days.
Wonderful. And I'll backtrack now. And there are times when people say, how it will happen, will it happen, why it has to happen. That is one way of questioning. And in our tradition also, questioning is also encouraged. But questioning with faith is encouraged. So when Lord Krishna is being asked anything and everything by Arjuna, he patiently he hears and responds. But there is one thing, Umaji, personally I feel that if you don't get into the water, you won't learn to swim. And if you keep on talking about the principles of swimming, it won't help. Same way in our tradition, I think our scriptures, and you mentioned about Agama Shastras, the way they guide you, that helps if you practice. So practice, I think, is the key word here. Now, I request you to go back to that day when you who were given the name, which is the name of Mahavallabh Ganapati's mother, you found yourself coming for the first time to this temple and you had darshan of Mahavallabh Ganapati here, I don't know whether you would recollect that particular visit distinctly or not, but with that, your initial kind of bonding with the deity here.
Yeah, certainly. Of course, it's going back a long time ago, and I was actually in my residency in OBGYN, and then being as a resident, a very busy schedule. And fortunately, I was living maybe about 25 minutes from the temple. So always had a great, bhakti towards Lord Ganesha, even from back home. My grandfather still has a temple there, mainly of Ganesha and also for Vishnu. And so this kind of influence at home definitely made me a very strong bond with the Lord. And I used to do, not that I'm such a great doing pujas at home, morning till evening, not that, but the thought process is constantly there. And I always pray to the Lord before I do anything. So that was the way I was, and I'm still here. So when I just came to know at the time, it was still being built at the time, see. So I used to come and see what is happening, and the day the installation was done, I still recall that whole picture in front of me, and it was one of my greatest moments of joy, because I thought, listen, I have come all the way, left my family, everybody was not there. But I found a place where Ganesha is there, which is my favorite Lord. And so that bond immediately got to me, And I remember that day I literally cried, because I said, there's some meaning for all this. And so I waited, and I was doing OBGYN, which, as you know, is a very tough residency. But I waited as long as I could for the whole day, for the full consecration to finish. And then all my thoughts as I was growing, as my mother, what she used to teach me about the various shlokas, stotras, and that you should do prayers in the morning, all these thoughts came back to me and said, now, even though as a resident it's hard sometimes to stay all night long, you come home and you sleep, but still I should spare myself even for 3 minutes, 5 minutes to think of the Lord, chant something. And from then on, I can tell you, I used to come to the temple as often as I could, even if it's for 5 minutes. I would just drive by, go in, have darshan and go. So that each time I did, the bond only strengthened. And listening to the various chanting, and of course, as you drive, you listen to some of these music and all this, that only enhances. So I think what is important for anyone to build relationship with any God, whoever it be, is to have first firm faith in the Lord. You have to have faith in your own dharma first, and then, okay, whether I worship Lord Ganesha, whether I worship Lord Krishna, whether I worship Lord Vishnu, whoever it be, but I think that strength should be there. And I do not have to put down anyone who says, oh, I don't believe in Ganesha, but I believe in Krishna. Fair enough. But who are we to decide? We only say there is somebody above us who is looking after us, and we worship this Lord in different forms. That's it. And it took me some time to convince some of the people that I used to meet and say, they used to tell me, oh, you're a great Ganesha Bhakta. I said, yeah, I'm a Ganesha Bhakta, but doesn't mean that I don't worship, nor do I pay my respects to the other deities. I said, just like in a family, you have mother and father, but sometimes mother is very close to you, or father is close to you. It doesn't mean you don't respect the other person. So it is just the bond that develops. And therefore, and many times I used to sit and ask the Lord my questions, and I used to think I used to get the answers back. Because of the faith, I think, that is the thing. So the more you worship, the more you sit in front of any deity and talk to the Lord within yourself, and you get the answers back, that only intensifies the faith. And this is how the first consecration literally built my inner confidence, because I had just come to the United States, barely 3 years or so, and made me think, I'm really not that far from home. I'm right here, and the Lord is right here. So that is how my beginning started. And in between, I had to leave for a year or two to go to Boston and stuff, came back again, continued until today. It continues.
Absolutely. And I don't know how many decades there have been that you have been almost synonymous with Hindu Temple Society of North America, and there are many things that comes to my mind, but one is continuity. And there are some people who are very intensely devoted for certain phase, and then it fizzles out. So what is it that you would say helped you or would help any sadhaka in sustaining their faith and having that continuity of feeling their oneness with the Lord?
See, most important is your faith. Well, that's important. And the second thing is, especially in an institution when you're involved, you must have a goal. And let's assume when we started the temple, it was a small temple. And then when I started seeing so many more people coming in, difficult for them to accommodate inside, the goal was, how do we expand this temple? And that was accomplished. And at the same time, in fact, even before I got deeply involved in the temple, I was looking for a place, like a community center somewhere in Queens, for our community, because there was no community center for the Hindus or the Indians, And somebody called me and said, why are you going to Forest Hills and all that? Why don't you do it near the temple? I said, that struck me. It's a great idea. So that was my goal also. That is when we started buying the various houses along Holly Avenue. Eventually the community center was built. So I think each time I kept a goal for myself. Now, when the goal was fulfilled, it didn't mean the chapter was closed. Now, what is next? That next comes only because there is somebody giving me a push, and that is the Lord. See, until the day I breathe my last, however, my goal is to serve the Lord in any capacity. It's not that I will be able to do the same thing a year from now, what I'm doing today, God only knows, but whatever I possibly can do, because that gives my strength daily, it gives me the strength. As I'm getting much older, my resistance has gone down, but still, as soon as I come near the temple, I get the burst of energy. And then I feel, okay, now I want to do this, I will accomplish this. So I think the goal is very important, and not just keeping a goal. How do we achieve that goal? That is also important.
It's very inspiring, Umaji, and many times in the name of having faith in God, we say He'll take care of everything, or Mother Jagadamba will take care of everything, and we don't do our part of action. And as you mentioned, having a goal, then people sometimes shy away because it requires tremendous amount of conviction and courage, and then following through what needs to be done. So if I sort of take a tangent to go to the word miracle. So many times people feel that you managed to accomplish this, it is miraculous. And it might be, but the way you are describing it, it is something that is possible for anyone with dedication to accomplish.
There is no miracle here at all. Absolutely no miracle. I think your determination, your love for Lord, your faith and faith in the community, and your goal, when we are here, see, the way I looked at myself is, God was very good to me. I was very successful in my medical practice, He gave me everything that I wanted. And, I was able to serve so many people. Then I said, it's now my turn to give back to the community. And how do I give back? When I have so much faith in the Lord and He has shown me such wonderful directions, this is the best place for me to give back. So I think it is nothing is a miracle. It is a possibility for each and every one. Where there is a will, there is a way. And without that will, and everybody sits back and thinks, oh, it's a miracle for her. Nobody just came and gave me in a platter and said, okay, take this, you can do this. Not at all. You have to work hard towards it. Be faithful, be strong-minded. People will criticize, people will give you all kinds of trouble. But say, I'm here for the Lord. And if the Lord wants me, He will take me to. If He doesn't want me, He'll show me a way out.
Now talking about the way in or way out, or following on the path, and what you have helped community collectively accomplish, there are no words to appreciate that or express gratefulness as someone who has been witness of the way the temple has grown. The question is, as an individual, each one have certain limitations in terms of the mental faculties that they have, physical capacity that they have. You have worked on expanding it continuously, it seems to me. My sincere request to you is to share what helped you sustaining your jigyasa for the dharma, because you have been also like a very sincere student, I would say, and there have been presence of many Mahatmas here who gave their discourses. So on the one hand, you were equipped with the knowledge of medical science, and you were known in your profession. So how did you create that space and found a balance between your professional commitments, which were quite a bit initially? Later on, you have reduced them, and you have completely devoted to the temple. But talk to me about finding a balance in life as well as professional commitment, as well as call it social service or devotion is concerned.
The only one thing that really helps anyone to achieve this is faith and devotion. That's all, And also the fact that one shouldn't feel guilty. For example, when I was doing residency, I was very busy, like especially OBGYN all night long in those days. Barely we used to get sleep also. If I had used that as an excuse and said, look, I can't do it, it's okay for the temple, it's already, whenever I get a chance, I'll go and see, I'll do my darshan. No, just like I used to think, I have to eat, is it not? And therefore we eat, we make time to eat. How cannot make some time to go and have darshan of the Lord and take the blessing? That's a part of my life. See, that's what gave me the inspiration. Each time I came to the temple, or even at home, sometimes I couldn't come, I used to worship and say, that used to really boost my energy up. And when it did it, that's when I used to say, now I go back and I will get more energy. So there is something that we look forward to each time. It is not that that's the only thing that brings you back. What it does to you is, it does not prohibit you saying that, oh, you're too busy, you got a big practice, or you have no time. There is no such thing in life for anybody at all. I think every kid, yes, they can't come every day, no problem, but at least once in a while you have to do, at least think of the Lord. He is the one who's given you this life. He is the one who is giving you all that you have accomplished. And if you can't spare a little time to the Lord, I think that isn't fair. That isn't fair at all. And I think by sparing time, you don't want to come and worship, that's also okay. But do some service to the community. You see, community need to be served. We came here, we are a small community compared to so many other communities, right? And if we didn't gather together, and if we don't build an institution like this, we are lost in this. Hindus will not even be known anywhere. We just can't give on doing processions and stuff like that. Now with this institution, all the people here, not only Indians or Hindus, a lot of other people come. They think this is a place not just for worship, but it represents India or Hinduism. And I think in order for us to do this, we have to work hard for it. And it's just not me. You have to have a gathering, a group of people who will all have the same line of thinking. And make sure that the institution continues to grow and serve the community. We should be, like during the pandemic time, you see, we did a lot of community service. We served food to the doctors, to the people, and many of these soup kitchens, everywhere we continue to do. It's not because we want to show up, but we are a part of the community. Just like we expect them to serve us by their appreciation, we want to go and serve them too. See, we're all humans. See, I may be a Hindu, somebody else is a non-Hindu, makes no difference. We are all human beings. And they worship a Lord, we worship a Lord, but we are here together as human beings. And therefore, we need to take care of them and they need to take care of us. And I think that really has built this. And I'm very happy and proud to say our young people, they're getting this message loud and clear. Because for them to continue to let this institution grow in all respects, they must remember to serve the community. That's really the priority. Not just doing pujas. Pujas are important, but community must be served.
So I have so many questions that comes to my mind. Maybe few I will be able to seek your attention. One, you mentioned community service important. I'll come back to service, but I go towards the importance of adhering to and upholding our values. That also involves having following through shastras as far as the way our worship is conducted, which the term comes ritual. So some people say I'm rational, so I'm not ritualistic, and some people say I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. So I keep hearing that argument, and I'm very, very happy and grateful overall, not just to you, to Mahavallabh Ganapati and to all those who are a part of this great institution, that you see the vibration which comes from following the authentic way of offering to the Lord through chantings and all these steps that are taken. So talk to me in your perception, the importance of the term ritual, which many people don't see with that kind of respect which it deserves, I feel.
But you see, the problem is that ritual is not just done for the sake of doing it.
Correct.
It has a lot of scientific process behind that. It's just like saying you take a stone vigraha, right? The purpose of doing many of these rituals as they chant is to continue to energize this. And what it does is it keeps on emitting the energy out. And if you listen to some of these, even some of the foreigners who enter the temple, first thing they say is, "Oh my God, it's so powerful," they say. And that is the energy one must feel. So when you are so depressed outside with whatever problems you have, the best solution is come into the temple. Just sit down. Don't have to talk to anybody. Take a deep breath and just look at whichever Lord that you believe in or your Ishtadevata is, and sit down. And you begin to breathe that special energy and release you. And many times you keep thinking there's something that's bothering me. And you'll be surprised at how often you'll get the answers back. Not because you're looking at the Vigraha, but what is in it and what it emits. So scientifically, it has a lot of purpose in it, It is not just building a temple and putting some vigrahas there. That's why in our Agama Shastra it says, these vigrahas should be stone, at least Agama Shastra say, because they are the ones who emit these. See? In some places they put metal. At least it is believed that metal does not do much, but I'm no expert on it. I'm not going to comment on that. But in most of this, in South India, if you go, almost all of them are stone vigrahas. That's it, Of course, there up north, there are many marble vigrahas also. So there are different kinds of vigrahas and different kinds of chanting they do. I'm sure that every one of them has a meaning behind it. We should never put down anything at all. This is my practice, this will be your practice, which is fine. But I think for those who criticize to say, I am only, what they will say is, I'm not ritualistic, I just want to do service. Fine, do service, that's also okay. But when you do service, you are doing service to those people in whom there is a Lord. A long time ago, I had a very good experience. There was a young fellow who was in his 20s, and his mother was very upset because he wouldn't come to the temple. He used to say, "What is this temple? You people do all kinds of things." And she once talked to me. I said, "Don't worry." I said, "Let him grow." I said, because the more you talk to him, the more repellents they become. So after 3-4 years, all of a sudden I saw him one day in the temple. And so I didn't ask him anything. I said, "Hello, how are you?" He said, "Okay." He says, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" Sure. Then he said, I know my mother must have spoken to you. I said, "No, a long time ago." She said, "But that's okay, whatever is your choice." No, he said, "I've come here to apologize," he says. He says, I used to think this coming here is just a waste of time, and they do some arati, they do this thing. But now I realized what it meant to me, And he says, when I come here and leave, I feel like a different person. And so I can go back and concentrate on what I was doing. I never appreciated that, although my mother tried to tell me in so many different ways. But then I know you advised her to leave me alone, which she did. And I used to go to some churches, but somehow something dragged me back here. Will you take me back to the temple? So I said, "Listen, ask him," I said. "The Lord is sitting there. He takes you back. Who are we to tell you no?" I said, each and every one in this world is welcome to this temple. So what I'm saying is that experience is important. Very, very important. And I tell you, you literally sometimes sit there and tears roll down in your eyes. Not because you're crying, but that energy is booming you. And it tells you how happy you are to be in a place that something very strong emotions are getting into you.
That inner, call it cleansing or purification, which brings pure joy. And now I relate to the other side, which connects with our ego. And in youth also, many times, as you mentioned, and But the Pathshala has been very vibrant and very active. And there have been a group of young minds, boys and girls, both, who have been very active with various activities of the temple. So looking at future in terms of Hindu leadership, how hopeful you are, and what has been your observation in terms of the way youth, who many times, because of their cultural differences here, as well as the kind of if they learn about Hinduism from school or colleges, they get to learn it in a way which is not every time in sync with the authentic way of Hinduism.
Yeah. I have very high hopes with the youngsters, because I think all institutions like ours, there are many, many, many temples, and they must all focus on the youngsters. Very important, And it's not that they all have to be ritualistic, but basic dharma. What is our dharma, And not to go into the depth of saying the whole Bhagavad Gita. That's not the issue. The issue is, how do you behave normally? And how do you treat your elders? How do you welcome your guests? These are simple things our Dharma teaches. If they know that and they come to a temple, and if they don't want to sit through, don't force them to sit through the rituals. Even the atmosphere of the temple is good enough for them. And as you said, when they grow, they will all come right back. At least 80% of them will come back. I'm pretty sure. I'm very confident of that. Maybe 20% will not, but that's okay. They all have their own freedom. They can do whatever they want. Our Hindu Dharma is here to stay. I'm very confident about that. And I don't think anything is going to happen. Our temples, all these temples, will only bring in more and more vibrations. And a lot of people are now realizing that they're so thankful that in each and every city there are so many temples. At least if they want to go for 5 minutes, they can go. They don't have to travel very long. So I think the purpose of building so many temples has been accomplished, so that it can bring in a lot of young people. See, generation after generation after generation. You look at the temples in India, they're there for hundreds and hundreds of years. So same thing is going to happen here. This country was, although it was purely a Christian country, now, practically all faiths. And their law, especially here in Flushing, they live in a very homogeneous way. Some problems here and there, which as human beings it happens, but I think we are very grateful and thankful that it's very homogeneous, and we can, and a lot of students from other faiths come here and they get fascinated, ask very interesting questions. And our Ravi Shivacharya is always there to take many, many classes, and they want, what does this mean? What does this mean? And we should have the patience to explain. They appreciate that also. See, if you look at any deity, each part of the deity has a special meaning. And that's how the deities are created. And if Ganesha means, it's intellect, it is the brilliance, And so we strongly believe. And I know somebody once during Chaturthi time, a little kid was with the mother. And the mother asked, the little kid asked the mother, saying that, why does Ganesha have this elephant head, But it was very interesting. I happened to be standing there, and the mother was in a hurry. She said to me, don't worry, that's the way he was born. And she pushed him. I then stopped here. I said, please don't do that. I said, because he will go out thinking that he was born that way. No. If you have no time, tell him you will do this, explain to him at home. Because once you lay down that, they remember that all the time, It is very important for them to understand why this elephant head came to the Lord, the purpose of it, how the Lord has created. Then they will appreciate the story very much. So I said, we must give them the right information, and then make them participate, let them chant, feel the inner power, how they can chant. I think youngsters will do far better than what we did.
I'm happy to hear that. And there are two-pronged concerns, call it, or areas which requires our collective attention with love for Sanatan Dharma. One, of course, as you mentioned, knowing what is what, and the greatness that is there, which also includes all encompassing and that sense of oneness, Vedantic approach. And as you mentioned, whether you believe in Lord Ganapati, Lord Krishna, and we have Panch Devopasana, so Shakti, Vishnu, Shiv, Ganeshji, Surya. So that takes care of everything. And there is ultimately, it is the one Brahma that you are worshipping is taught to us. But many Hindus also feel that we worship multiple gods. So one responsibility that for institutions like this, or for anybody who cares for Sanatana Dharma, is dispel the darkness of ignorance in terms of understanding of our dharma. That is one. But I also want your input or your thoughts on the other side, which relates to activism as the term comes, but it is ultimately making sure that people are not painting you black with their brush of perception, which comes from some half-baked knowledge or some wasted interest. And the kind of environment that I see emerging in India and sometimes here also. So there are people who are lobbying to put Hindus down and make them be seen by politicians or mainstream media in the light which is not very good to be seen in. So how do you see, are we acknowledging this concern, and should many times devotees feel that I am only dedicated to the Lord and that part He will take care. But do you see that as our responsibility?
Absolutely. I think it's our responsibility. Yes, Lord will take care. First we have to take care of it and He will help us. But I think it is important for education, and then mixing with the other communities, explaining what it is that we do and what it is that needs to be done. Why all these Agama Shastras and various textbooks that have been written hundreds and hundreds and hundreds by Rishis and stuff. So there was a meaning for it, how they worshipped, what it is that has brought us to this level. You know, if you don't want to believe in idol worship, which is okay, that is also okay. But as long as you keep chanting the name of the Lord in any language, whatever language you go, I think that itself gives you the inner strength. And I think imposing upon people who don't have the strong belief in the beginning that they must come to the temple and that's the only place, I think that will dispel the whole thing. I think you have to let them learn themselves, let them also begin to realize there may be something here. Let me go and see what it is in here. As some of the people used to say, even our elders used to say, if by chance you are late, you can't go to the temple, just drive by the temple. That is also good enough. That's how I remember my great-grandfather used to say, which means that the temple as it stands, not a deity, but number of deities, that house of energy distributes this power to all the people coming around. I think this scientific dissemination of knowledge will bring in a lot more people. If you just say you're doing idol worship, it'll turns off the people. You know, what do you do in idol worship? I think the purpose of that is to strengthen yourself and say, and give some narrations, give some examples of our Puranas, how young people have come up, how they have realized the Lord. Of course, the best and the example is Bhagavad Gita, in whatever way we can tell them, in simplest way, not to go into the depth of it. And I think we can accomplish. I've seen it myself here, a lot of young people who used to sort of go away. Now I see them all coming back. There is a young movement who want to preserve Hinduism, who would fight. And sometimes I tell them, don't go too far, I tell them, because, see, in the name of Hinduism, they will say, criticize other faiths. I said, that's the last thing we should do. Our Dharma does not allow that. You see, if I only respect you, then you will respect me. That's it. Be it you, I respect Christianity or Islam or whatever, then they will respect who we are. So I said, then you have to understand their faiths and tell them, come into our temple, we tell you how we do, and then we'll come to yours, you tell us how we do. So we'll live in a nice, congenial fashion. I think if we can, if all the politicians can follow this, I think there will be no problem in this world. But each one wants to proclaim that my religion is the best, which will never happen. No religion is the best. It is best for me. Hinduism is best for me, but I cannot enforce this on a Christian or a Muslim. I think this is the message that has to go all over the place.
So forgive me for sort of bringing it, because it comes in continuation with what you just said. For example, if you come across a news coming from Pakistan or from some place where Hindu girls abducted, converted forcibly, but you don't want to say, and I agree with you also, we are not criticizing Islam, but at the same time, these kind of events need to be addressed collectively, and there should be a unified Hindu voice to speak for Hindus who are victims at whatever place it is. That I don't see happening. Do you see there is a need for it, and will it happen?
You see, we don't have to criticize Islam. Islam has nothing to do with it. There's a political issue. See, when these young women who are being abused or whatever has happened, it is purely a political issue. And I think that needs to be addressed. We don't have to bring Islam into the picture at all, you see. Just like it has happened in many places, I know that. But who is going to take care of it? There must be some organizations who can take. For example, here, HAF deals with it. And I commend their service. I do commend their service because they are meant for it, you know. They are not mixing to say that Hindus are better or Muslims are bad. That's nothing to do with it. We're only addressing the issue that Hindu girls were mistreated or whatever in Pakistan. So that is an issue that should be addressed anywhere in the world. Just like if the Christians were being abused, that should be addressed also. So we should not bring in faith in this matter, but it is a political issue that must be addressed no matter where and what. No.
Talking about politics, not exactly politics, but politicians have also been very friendly with Hindu Temple of North America, and we recently had an event where the street was named after the temple. How that made you feel? I think it came after many years, but this was welcomed by devotees, and it's like a milestone in our journey.
Yes, indeed. It was a great milestone. I've been thinking about it for the last 2 years. And then there was some encouragement from some people, but some discouragement also, saying, "Oh, they'll never do this. This is it's a temple, it's a religion, so they won't." But I am very grateful to our local councilmen and senators, whom I approached individually, and I asked them, "Listen, they said absolutely right, and give us explanation what it is that you want to do. What has the temple done? We want it in writing. The services the temple has done." And I did all what they asked me to do. And believe me, within 8-9 months, the approval came from the council. So and the whole community was utterly amazed that it did happen. But I think it is a great milestone. So what does it show? It shows where there is a will, again there is a way. In other words, we are working hard. We just didn't sit here, we only preach Hinduism. No, we go out into the community and we meet so many people in the community. And that is what is important, And many people want to know about Hinduism. We are prepared to teach them. And we want to learn about Islam. We are prepared to go to a mosque. We participate in so many interfaith centers. So I think it is important to be in this together. Then they will also appreciate, as difficult as it was, but they made our life easy. And certainly a big milestone to call it as a Ganesha Temple Street, and it was a big day of pride and joy, and that will sustain forever.
And I'm also happy to recollect with you that there have been some important awards that came your way, and we feel that they are shared by the whole community, that being Ellis Island Award long ago, or an important award in India, or many more. Not just that, I would say that every time an important festival is conducted successfully, it is a kind of award of richness which you cannot exactly pinpoint what it is. But I want to learn from you. You never sit on your laurels, as they say. So I've seen you during these 9-day festivals. In the evening time, the whole day you have been active, and you are so tired yet energetic. And one would feel that if somebody manages to accomplish something, even half of that, then they'll keep talking about it for years. Oh, that day I did this, I did this. But you don't seem to be talking. You are always thinking ahead. So what brings that particular quality in you, and how that can be inculcated?
The whole thing that is for me is faith is most important. And also, I constantly dream of what can I do next. That is my thing, When this, as I told you, when one thing finishes, then I don't stop there, I said, God, if you have given me some more life, if I think I can be of some more use to the community, what is the next thing that I can do. So if I keep that my goal day in and day out, you see, there is no dullness in the life at all, and it's not that I can accomplish everything, there is no way, but whatever I can accomplish, it gives me that inner strength that he is there with me, and so I can move on. So I think for everything that we do in life, we must have a goal. We, of course, I'm not saying everybody wants to be a prime minister or a president, that is not the issue. Within ourselves, what it is that we can accomplish, even coming to let's say going and helping some poor people, somebody falls on the street, you want to help that person, that's an accomplishment, because if that person, you didn't help him or her, maybe that person wouldn't have survived. You really brought in a life. So I think this thought is very important. Constantly, how do I help somebody? What it is I can accomplish? How can I make better for the community? God has given me, and he has given me this kind of life. Now it is my time to give it back to the community in whatever way, however long I can do, how much he gives me the strength, we will do that. My goal is that day in and day out, that's my goal.
I heard you mentioning couple of times one should have a goal, and you may not relate to it, but Umaji, I know many people, and I've been in that place where you are not having the kind of clarity in your mind that you will set a goal, and then because you fail in setting a goal, you say that I'll take one day at a time, and as the God takes me, I'll go. So that becomes a kind of excuse. So is there any art of setting goals?
I think you have to commit to yourself. It is not setting up a goal to satisfy somebody else. If somebody comes and says, look here, I want to build a hospital, do you think you can help me? You first start the hospital, let me see what I can do. Then everything goes away. Just an example, If I'm really interested in it, I will also pursue and say, look here, you're doing a great service, you're helping the people, Have you done something so that I can also be a part of it? I mean, it's just an example. I think it's important for us not to forget, but persistently move on in life, because life is very short. What is done today is forgotten the next day. And therefore, if we can leave myself 10 minutes and say, what can I do tomorrow? And I should make sure that I do that tomorrow. If I don't do that tomorrow, it just scratches my head and say, my God, why did I do this today? So I will spend another extra hour that day and make sure that it is done. So in other words, the goal and maintenance of the goal and the love of the Lord and love of the community and making sure everybody around you is happy, that's very important also. See, when people are working with you, you have to put pressure. As you well know, in my position, a lot of pressure is there. But I have to be a part of it. I cannot just sit and order. This is not a place like that. This is a place where I have to do my part, then they will do their part. Then only you can gain the respect from them. If I sit in my chair whole day and just keep on giving orders, what good is it? So I think that is togetherness. Respect people. There should be no differentiation between who you are. Everybody is equal in the eyes of the Lord. So you treat them all equally well. Be with them. What you can do for your age, for your accomplishment, do it. Somebody else who's much younger can do better, fine. Encourage them to do. So I think this togetherness, to be helping out the people, take some advice from people, listen to people. You cannot be right all the time. You have to be able to a good listener. And you have to think, I made a wrong decision. This decision is better. Unless you have that open mind, you cannot succeed.
With open mind, I think I'll move towards the concluding part of two more questions I'll ask you, because it's always inspiring to listen to you, and there are experience supported ideas or thoughts that we hear from you, and they may help somebody transform themselves somewhere. When you work with people, of course, Mahavallabh Ganapati ji is the source of key strength and inspiration. But is there any one you would say, or people who you felt inspired you also, either those with whom you worked in the temple or elsewhere, and that sometimes you refer in your mind and sort of reconnect you with inner strength?
My grandfather. See, he was the source of my inspiration from the beginning, and he was a very big lawyer in those days in Bangalore, and he built, there was a hometown Ganesha temple, and he built another temple nearby. Very successful lawyer, and the amount of community service he did was just unbelievable. I remember he once said, in those days they used to go to, he along with some people were sent to UK as Boy Scouts, and in those days crossing the ocean was the biggest sin, see. So I remember that conversation so well. When he came back, the community from his village did not allow him to come back to the community. They said, you are expelled. And he was a very strong, determined man. He says, I don't care. You want to expel me? Go ahead. He says, I will do my service. I don't have to come here. So he continued on. He did tremendous amount of service. He built a hospital. He built a school, everything, And of course, then the community apologized to him and he went back. And he always used to advise me. He used to tell me, see, you must remember, when you do something, do it with a clean heart. Don't expect anything from anybody, you see. If God has given you the strength and the brain, use it, And then don't expect people to come and ask you. Don't expect people to come and bow down to you. You are in the same level that everybody else is, because God created us all. Yes, the responsibilities are different, and you have to be loyal to your responsibility, but you cannot put down anybody, see. And his source of strength that has till today echoes in my head.
I appreciate sharing that. Umaji, what was his name?
Is D. Ganesh Rao.
D. Ganesh Rao.
Yes, D. Ganesh Rao.
Yes, D. Ganesh Rao ji. Yeah. So with you, I also remember him, and his spirit connects and blesses us. And concluding part of my conversation, there must have been many months of preparation for the upcoming festival, and any detail that you may want to share with us in terms of what to expect and how easy, difficult, challenging it has been, and few tidbits.
At least about 30-40% of the things were done, because we were going to do this in 2020. So we had begun the preparation in 2019, but because of the pandemic, everything got postponed. So much of the material was already purchased. Luckily, the shipment had come, so we had stored them in a safe place. But even then, the coordination of and even priests were invited. In fact, we had even secured visas for them. Everything got cancelled at the time. So right now, as you know, the visa situation is still very bad in India. They can't come in. So we had to go around about maybe 25 temples around the US. Very fortunately, they were all very helpful, very kind. And whatever they can do, they have done to help us to send priests maybe for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. This was the most challenging part, and of course to get them a proper place not too far from the temple for them to stay, and coordinate all the volunteers to make sure that they are picked up, brought to the temple right time, and then take good care of them, because they are the ones who are performing this, and ensure that all our volunteers are in this together. This is almost a once in a lifetime deal, and they should feel very fortunate that they are a part of this. And we keep having the meetings to inculcate this feeling in them, and they all seem very energetic, and I look forward to a very great celebration. And hopefully the weather will cooperate, and hopefully the Swamijis, etc., whom we have invited, will be able to come and bless us.
And I remember last time during the Maha Kumbhabhishekam, there were chants from all the 4 Vedas. So there was Samvedi priests, and they sing in a different way. That's very unique experience, even to be in that sort of chanting happening around you. And any thing that you would like to mention for those who are not familiar or who are not much familiar, and they come, what you expect them to take by being part?
Just sitting in the Yagashala, listening to the chanting, observing the yagnas, breathing that air will make you a new person altogether, And finally, to witness the Kumbhabhishekam itself, that is the Kalasha Abhishekam to the towers, and then these purified water, sanctified water is brought inside the Mahamandapa for the different deities. I think it will simply energize you, fully re-energize you, and you will never be able to gain this experience again and again and again. So my humble appeal to all the people is to come here and experience this unique phenomenon, and the pujas take place every day, all that is fine, but this doesn't happen every day. This happens once in 12 years. And so for those of you, and even those who have been sick, they want to come, because even breathing this yagna is the great thing, So I sincerely appeal and pray to the Lord that He allows as many people as possible and bring joy and give His blessing to everybody who comes here. And we, on our part, will do the very best to make their stay here as comfortable as possible, to make the movement of the devotees as comfortable as possible, and do the best we can.
Cannot thank you enough, Umaji. And on a personal note, I'm being slightly greedy, and this is a very small question, but if you care to share any daily practice that helps you sustain the kind of energy which one gets to experience being around you, or any mantra that you think is kind of easy for people to follow through.
My main thing is, in the morning, I get up very early in the morning and I meditate in the mornings. That's my strength, and I seek the blessing of the Lord, allow me to do what I'm anticipating to do today, and that's how I leave the house. At least 20 minutes of meditation I do every morning, no matter what. Sometimes I get up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever time, and even if I don't chant anything at all, just to sit and meditate upon the Lord. I think that has given me, for years I have been doing this. And this is what, and of course in between, if there is any, I do chant Ganesha mantra or Krishna mantra in between, but the thing that really makes my movement go strong is the meditation. When I meditate, I just concentrate upon the Lord, so it is like focusing on the Lord, and as I said, you just get back your answer. See, I leave sometimes the previous evening with some thoughts in my mind, how do I deal with this, so I go back and I think about it. When I do this meditation, some resolution comes back to me. It comes back to me. See, He has given me my answer. So next morning when I come, I'm able to implement it.
So if I may articulate saying that you can consciously make miracles happen. So that's what is happening here.
Thank you very much. It is, this is something that people must feel and experience. You see, without that, words not enough. No matter how well you articulate, it's not enough. I think everybody has to come here, feel it, and take the blessing and go. And I think this again, we are here in America experiencing this. I think it's a great thing. It's really a great thing. It's not in India. It happens every other day, but here especially. And the best part, I tell you, is that our local communities, our local politicians, they appreciate it. They want to be a part of it, and that is the beauty of this. It is not like we are dubbed as religious. No, they like this, they come, they enjoy this. So I think that's the Rath Yatra is coming on the 11th, and it will be a grand Rath Yatra. You've been there before, and people come just to enjoy, to walk with the Lord, to dance and to dance to the music, the Nagaswara, all this. So I think it's a whole community participating in this. So something we look forward to.
So in Vallabh Acharya ji's followers say aaj ke aanand ki jaye. So being with you and the joy of today, indeed, sometimes people are thinking that what after Umaji, but I would not let my mind think about that, and I would put my 2 cents saying that He brought you and He'll bring whosoever He wants to bring.
Exactly correct. 100%. I think I agree with you totally, because we are not here to decide that. It is He who is here to decide that. I didn't know that I was coming to take over or do this kind of stuff. I came as a devotee, but He just put me into this and drew into the same way. There are people. I'm not worried about that at all, because the Lord knows what is best.
The best part was talking to you today, and once again, Dr. Mysorekar ji, thank you very much, very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
नमामि विघ्नेश्वर पाद पंकजं नमामि विघ्नेश्वर